What's going on, guys? Kagger here. In today's video we're going to talk about Cleef, one of the three main summoners. We're going to talk about how tanky he is and what he brings to the party. Let's get into it. Alright, so all of our characters, the attribute research and utility are all the same across all three characters. The only main difference is going to be the 5 main element types right here, which we'll go over, but first we're going to go over the passive, which are also different for the three characters. So if we look at our passives, the first one we have right here, Protection Shield. All of them showcase what the character is trying to do, as well as a chance to gain mana. So if we take a look, decrease damage taken by team members when attacked by enemy summoners or bosses. Gains mana with a chance when attacked by enemy summoners or bosses. So this is, you take 20% less damage from enemy summoners or bosses, and your monsters take 10% less, and you have a 10% chance to gain mana when attacked by summoners or bosses. This is going to be your bread and butter, allowing you to do damage and get mana faster than other people. You're going to be in the front tanking, and every time you get hit, it's 10%, sure, but if you're getting hit all the time, especially a 3-hit combos, 5-hit combos, things like that, then you have a chance to get a big spike of mana. Next, we take a look at Iron Shield. Increases the defense of team members if your HP is lower. So if you're under 70%, then your monsters get 20% defense up. This can be very good if you're doing a 2-tank combo, you and a tank monster, which deals damage based off defense. This is going to be the same thing, but with resistance. I personally don't think it's very great. Next, we have Thorn Shield. Applies reflect damage to nearby team monsters when the team monster HP goes under 50%. And if we take a look, it's level 1, which is 15% of damage dealt to that monster is dealt to the attacker as well, with a 90-second cooldown. So within that 90 seconds, boss fights, you're able to heal past 50 and then drop under 50 and then get that Thorn Shield back again, allowing your damage against bosses to jump a little bit. Then we have Enhanced Shield. Increases defense if your HP is under a certain ratio. So you get 30% defense if you're under 50% HP. All of his skills across the board with all the elements deals damage based off of defense. So you're taking less damage and dealing more damage. Blessing Keeper increases received healing when you're under a certain ratio. So if you're under 30%, you gain 30% extra healing. Some of your skills in red, black, and a few others give you healing. So this goes with himself, but also if you have a healer on your team, this can be very good for clutch heals. Tenacity Keeper, this is the one that everyone talks about. Applies Endure and continuous recovery to yourself when your HP drops below a certain ratio. So when you go under 30%, you get Endure, which says you can't die for 15 seconds, and level 1 continuous recovery for 15 seconds. That will also trigger off of the Blessing Keeper that we just looked at, which is if you drop under 30%, increases your recovery by 30%. So this level 1 continuous recovery is going to be 30% stronger. Confrontation increases the damage dealt and decreases the damage taken when attacking a provoked enemy. So this is your bread and butter. When you provoke someone, they deal less damage to you and you deal more damage to them. You deal 15% more damage and you take 10% less damage. Some bosses can be provoked. A lot of, like the raid ones, cannot. So you gotta be careful with that. Blessing of the Battlefield applies crit resistance up to nearby team monsters if it falls below a certain ratio. So if your monsters go under 50%, this is going to be a big deal in Battlefield and both of the arena game modes, the PvP stuff, because crit resist up is going to be a huge deal. If we take a look at just the level 1, 30% crit damage resistance. if they drop under 50% HP. Now let's get into the different elements. Across all types, his basic attack is going to be the weakest part of Cleef. If we take a look, it only does damage based off of attack. It does do a little bit of splash, but it only does damage based off attack, and everything else does damage based off defense, which makes his basic attack very, very weak in comparison to other things. If we take a look, Iceberg, one of my favorites that we have, is you strike with a 5-second cooldown, dealing damage based off your defense, applies attack down with a chance of push, and applies attack speed down if they have attack down. So if we take a look, the attack down lasts for 20 seconds. It has a 5-second cooldown. It's very, very likely you're going to be able to hit this again on the same target, meaning that second hit is going to reapply the attack down and also give them a level 3 attack speed down, which is very, very huge. If we take a look right here, attack speed down, level 3 is 40% attack speed down, which is very, very huge. Then we get into Ice Double Attack. All of his abilities, the third skill is pretty independent of itself, and all of the elements, the first skill into the second skill is what you always want to do, because the second skill will do something extra if the first skill was used first. The third skill is pretty independent of itself. Deals damage based off of defense to enemies within the area by swinging mace twice. Link skill is activated when Cleef attacks an enemy with attack down, which is applied by the first skill, as I said. So the Link skill being this Ice Blow, all of these elements, all 5, do this. So if you hit them with the first skill, then hit them with the second skill, they do an additional thing. This additional thing is Ice Blow, which will be additional damage based off of defense with a knock-up and accuracy down, which people trying to hit you with debuffs is going to be very, very important. Ice Shield unleashes a powerful power of water to deal damage based off defense to enemies in the area and provoke them with a certain chance. And in addition, apply attack down. So if we take a look, this is level 1 attack down, which can also be 3 into 2, but this isn't always the case. Then his ultimate, if we take a look, it does everything that we're already doing, but just a little bit more. Leaps and hits the ground, attack enemy with a chance to apply airborne, and applies attack down and attack speed down to the target, deals bonus damage to creatures. So if we take a look, it's level 5 attack down and level 5 attack speed down. If you did not know, if you hit them with a level 1 attack down or attack speed down and hit them with this, that will make it a 6. If we take a look at the list right here, all of them stack up to 10, which with attack down, it would be 70% attack down. With attack speed down, it's 110% attack speed down once fully maxed. Now let's get into the next element. So wind is also a pretty tanky one, as we'll see. The basic attack is nothing to write home about the same as all the other elements. Then we look at Wind Rush, which is going to be very, very front-loaded with stuff to do. Apply a shield to yourself. If we take a look, the shield is 20.5% of your max HP for 5 seconds. Then it deals damage based off your defense. Chance to do a knockup. In addition, sends out 3 tornadoes, which recovers your HP by a percentage of the damage done. If we take a look, you heal by 50% of damage done by the 3 tornadoes. So if you're in a group of enemies, you're able to heal yourself pretty dramatically, especially as we talked about over here, Tenacity Keeper giving you level 1 continuous recovery for 15 seconds, as well as where was it, right here, increasing your healing for that time as well. Then we go into Wind Double Attack, deals damage based off of defense in the area, hit 2 times, apply Electric Shock, and then your Link skill if you have a shield, which as we saw, the first skill applies shield. And Wind Blow penetrates their defense, so it's damage that ignores their defense area and briefly knocks them up with a 62% rate. Now, Wind Shield is a very, very interesting one because it gives us something that we don't see in a lot of the other types, and this applies defense up, then deals damage based off defense and provoke. Now, this is a 90% provoke, pretty decent attack, but if we take a look, defense up is a very, very interesting bonus stat because it gives us 50% at level 1 and 70% at level 10. It's one of these weird ones where level 1 is way more beneficial than trying to stack it up. So just getting that level 1 defense up, especially seeing as all of your skills are based off defense, so taking less damage and dealing more damage is very, very beneficial. Then the ultimate, Wind Shock, applies defense up. As we saw, that's the ultimate for all the characters are kind of going after what that element's already trying to do and just doing it better. Applies defense up to nearby allies, and Leaf's melee hits the ground, attacks enemy with a chance with a knock-up, deals bonus damage to creatures. Now let's get into fire. Taking a look at fire, the attack is about the same that we've seen across the board. Then we look into lava attack. All of fire is very, very interesting. All three of the last ones we're going to look at, fire, light, and dark, all add entirely different game plans. So if we take a look, lava attack, leap, this is 7, most of the other ones are 5-second cooldowns, but as we'll see, it hits an AoE, destroying HP and stunning with a chance. As we'll see, it's a 50% chance for a 3.5 second stun, which is massive, especially in PvP. Link skill is activated when he defeats an enemy up to 2 times. Now, we normally see this on the second skill. This is the first time we've seen it on the first skill. And as we see, it's when an enemy is defeated, use lava attack. What's the name of the skill we're currently looking at? Lava attack. So if you kill a target with lava attack, you will then use lava attack again, and additionally, maybe a third lava attack off the same skill. So you'll see things where he goes boom, boom, boom. That third one doesn't happen all the time because he doesn't have huge damage, but fire really is your damage type. Deals damage based off defense to area, swinging mace twice. Link effect is activated when enemy has CC effect. This is going to apply off your skill 1 or skill 3. Both of them do CC effects, but you're really going to want to go 1, 2, 3 with fire, as we'll see once we get there. So damage based off your attack and defense, that is something interesting when it comes to fire. Fire specifically adds attack to all the skills. Fire blow is a very interesting one, as we'll see right here. So if you use this after skill 1 or skill 3, ideally after skill 1, charges the mace to throw fire damage based off defense area and briefly airborne target. Addition applies unrecoverable. Unrecoverable is exactly what it sounds like. They cannot heal, and that's going to be important when we talk about Fire Shield, the third skill. Unleashes the power of fire to apply continuous recovery to himself. So you are healing a little bit straight up, which isn't very common. We'll see this also with dark once we get there. Unleashes the power of fire, continues recovery damage based off defense area, applies bleed and provoke with a certain chance, and additional damage if they have unrecoverable. So while you can do 3 into 2, you really want to do 1, 2, 3, because 1's going to give them that stun. During that stun, you're going to apply unrecoverable with 2, and with 3, you're going to give them that bleed, provoke, and additional damage, trying to really, really burst them. And if you have it, Fire Shock is going to be your finisher. Leaps and hits the ground, apply airborne with certain chance, applies unrecoverable and resistance down to the target. So if we take a look, it's actually unrecoverable regular and level 5 resistance down. If we take a look at level 5 resistance down, that's going to be 64% of their resistance you're ignoring. This is the main thing that Cleef brings to some boss fights, is he can immediately save up his ulti and hit them with that level 5 resistance down, and that's mostly what he's able to bring. Now let's get into light and dark. Basic attack is just basic, everything that we've seen so far. Then light speed, this is an interesting one because you can hold multiple charges. Charges at the speed of light across the enemy and deals damage based off defense and applies blind. Increases the damage dealt if target is provoked. So as we'll see, this is an interesting one that wants you to use your third skill, provoke, before 1, which totally throws us off with our other setups. As we'll see, it's a 90% blind, which is pretty huge. Light double attack deals damage based off defense, mace 2 times, link skill if blinded. If blinded, we get light blow, deals damage based off defense and briefly knocks them up. In addition, silence with a certain chance, which is a 90% chance silence for 8 seconds. Silence means they cannot use skills. This will turn off their 3 main activated summoner skills, as well as make them unable to use mana skills. This also works against monsters. Then Light Shield. Unleash the power of light to apply invincibility to himself and the team monster with the highest attack. This has an area of range, so if your monster with the highest attack is further away, it will affect the closest one to you that has the highest attack. Deals damage based off defense and provides provoke. Then we get into Light Shock. Leaps and deals damage with an area, implies an irresistible stun, deals bonus damage against creatures. This is going to be a pretty decent PvP option, as you'll see. You have some pretty big options for Cleef and PvP. Now let's get into Dark, and then we'll round it all out. The basic is the same across the board. Then we go into Dark Impact, which is a very, very interesting one. Leaps in the air and collides on the ground, dealing damage based off defense in the area, applies crit rate down to the target and knocks the target down with a certain chance, applies continuous recovery to himself if the attack target is provoked. This is what we just saw in Light, which want to do 3 then 1. So with both Light and Dark, you're going to want to do 3, 1, 2, when in a lot of the other ones, it's 1, 2, with Fire being exception being 1, 2, 3. 70% knockdown, crit rate down, which if we take a look, crit rate down is 30%, which is huge, and crit rate down is one of the ones where you want to get it stacked to the top, which as we see, it's a huge bonus, going from 30% to 80%. Skill 2 deals damage based off defense, link skill if they have crit rate down, which we just applied with skill 1. Dark Blow, damage based off defense, and applies Endure to himself. This is going to be huge because this is a combo skill in PvP, because you hit them with that with the hit on S1 with the crit rate down, and then you hit S2, this skill right here, to apply a huge amount of damage and enduring yourself for 20 seconds, allowing you to, this is your opener when it comes to some PvP situations, as it'll allow you to just ignore some upfront damage when you hit that endure. Then Dark Shield unleashes the power of dark based off its defense to enemies if the area provokes them with a certain chance. The enemy with the highest attack within the area cannot resist provoke, which is very, very huge. Applies reflect damage to himself and applies damage taken down to all other allies, which this is going to be a pretty tanky one, as we'll see. Level 1 damage taken down to your allies, and level 1 reflect damage to yourself. As we'll see, level 1 reflect isn't very big because it's 15% of reflected damage, but it cannot exceed your maximum HP. The level 1 damage taken down is actually kind of big because they will take 30% less incoming damage. So if you do 3, 1, 2, then you end it with Endure on yourself and damage taken down on your allies. Dark Shock, Airborne and Provoke with a certain chance. Provoke is irresistible and applies Endure to himself, deals bonus damage to creatures. So we can apply a lot of Endure, and then let's break it down which one you want and why. So across all 5 types we have here, Water is my favorite for straight up front tanking. In most game modes, it applies attack down, attack speed down. Wind is a close second when it comes to flat out tanking. Then Light and dark are your premier PvP types. Dark with all the endures across the board. Light with the irresistible, what's the ultimate? Irresistible stun, and all the blinds with 90% blinds on the S1 is very, very huge. Dark being a good combo type in PvP. So what I like to do is actually do S1, S2, and then swap into, let's say, a light weapon S3 in PvP as a good opener, and then light having the superior staying power as the first skill has multiple charges and things like this. Dark, right now in the current meta, they make you build. They gave everyone Karambit for free, as well as are making you build things that ignore and buff strip. So dark with all of its endures is very, very powerful in some game modes, but if you have to watch out what your enemy has to offer, making some can make dark very, very pointless. Red, fire, is your premier damage spec. This is going to allow you to do the biggest damage you possibly can. All of these are going to like your passives over here, especially if we take a look over here. Damage taken down, deal bonus damage. All of your S3s apply provoke, and then allowing you to do 10% bonus damage because they have provoke is very, very powerful. So as I said, fire is your main damage. Water and wind are your main tank stances, and light and dark are your premier PvP types. I personally, if I'm unable to use dark because of some certain counter picks, I like to roll light and fire as my PvP stances. Let me know in the comment section down below what element you're using, and if you want to see Kina or Orbia in the next one. Till next time, guys.